HowExpert! Top 10 board games of all time. HowExpert publishes quick how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit HowExpert.com to learn more. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more HowExpert Top 10 videos in the future. Moving on, let's talk about the HowExpert Top 10 board games of all time. Number 10. Dominion. Dominion was released in 2008 and its popularity has skyrocketed. In this game, each player is the ruler of a kingdom, and they compete against each other to expand while defending their own realm while they build up victory points. Once the final province has been purchased, or alternatively, once 3 of the stacks are empty, if there are 4 people playing, then there will be 4 stacks which must be empty. At this point, the players will count up their points, and the person with the most points wins. One important difference between the way this game is played when compared with most others occurs at the event of a tie. If there is a tie, then the player who went first loses. Number 9. Clue. Clue was released in 1949 and has remained a classic board game for some time. In fact, you would probably be hard-pressed to find someone who has never played Clue. In the game of Clue, players must compete against each other to discover the killer, who is behind a murder. In the classic Clue, Mr. Black is the one murdered. Players move throughout the mansion, question each other, and examine various clues to deduce not only the killer, but also the murder weapon, as well as the room in the mansion where the murder took place. Players initially suspect each other of the heinous act, and once a player is confident enough in their suspicions, they officially accuse the player's piece of the murder in question. The accuser must correctly guess the identity of the murderer, the murder weapon, as well as the location of the murder. If the accuser is wrong on any of those guesses, they are booted from the game. A player wins by accurately guessing the identity, murder weapon, and location when they accuse a character. Number 8. Battleship. Battleship is a classic 2-player strategy game released in 1967 by Milton Bradley. There was an earlier predecessor of the game called Broadsides, the game of naval strategy, and that was released in 1943. In this game, 2 players are in charge of their own naval fleet. Each player sets up their ships on the board and then begins to call out coordinates such as E7 to try and score a hit on the opposing player's ship. Once all peg holes on a ship in question are filled, that ship is sunk, and that player is much closer to being out of the game. The game ends when one of the 2 players has lost all of their ships. Number 7. Settlers of Catan. The Settlers of Catan was released in 1995. The Settlers of Catan is a strategy board game in which each player attempts to score the highest number of points, which is accomplished by implementing effective trade and economic moves throughout the game. Unlike other strategy board games on this list, there is no actual combat between the players, and no player is actually eliminated from the game. But it is very common for the more dominant player to begin boxing in their opponents, rendering them helpless as they march towards victory. Number 6. Scrabble. Scrabble was invented in 1933 by Alfred Mosher Butts. In a game of Scrabble, the players compete against each other to earn the most points at the end of the game. The game is played by matching tiles, each having a letter on them. There are various point multipliers throughout the board. The game ends when either all the tiles have been used, or it is impossible to spell another word with the remaining tiles, in combination with the tiles already on the board. A dictionary can often be found in the victory of any Scrabble game and is often used to verify the validity of words played that others find suspect. Number 5. Stratego. Stratego was invented in 1961. Stratego, much like Risk, relies almost solely on strategy. Each player sets up their army in whatever fashion they like, so long as it does not enter the middle of the board. The objective of the game is to capture the opponent's flag. This is done by moving one of your game pieces into the same space as the enemy's flag. To capture the enemy pieces, you would simply move your attacking piece onto the same square as an opponent's piece, at which point the attacker reveals the number listed on their piece, which denotes rank, and the piece with the higher number comes out on top. although there are some exceptions for the spy and the bombs, which are considered special pieces. Number 4. The Game of Life. The Game of Life was originally designed and published as a checkered version of the game in 1860, but the modern version was not released for another 100 years. The Game of Life brings the players on a simulated journey throughout their lives. The players have the option of either going to college or start off by immediately entering a career field. The players will encounter a myriad of situations throughout the game. To win the game, all players must first reach the retirement phase of the game. Once a player reaches the retirement phase, they can choose to retire at either the Millionaire Estates or Countryside Acres in the more recent versions of the game. The first 3 players who choose to retire at Millionaire Estates are able to choose a life tile, a tile which awards the player a sum of money so long as they can hold on to it until the end of the game. However, if they retire here, their life tiles are not safe and can be taken by other players if there are no more tiles in the original pile. However, if a player decides to retire at Countryside Acres, their life tiles are considered safe. Once all players have retired, the winner is determined by whomever has the most money. Number 3. Risk. Risk was invented in 1957 by Almer Lamouris. The objective of this game is total world domination. There are multiple armies which are divided up amongst the players and distributed throughout the territory held by the players. Combat is initiated by the attacking player declaring which territory on the board they are attacking and rolling the dice against the defending player, with the attacker usually opting to use their maximum of 3 dice, and the defender usually opting to use their maximum of 2 dice. The outcome of the rolls determines the winner of the engagement, with ties going to the defender. The game is won once all other armies have been defeated, and the winning player controls every territory on the board. There is, however, another version of this game which focuses on completing missions. In that version, whomever completes their missions first is deemed the winner. Number 2. Monopoly. Monopoly was invented in 1935, with its precursor, the Landlord's Game, being invented in 1902 by Elizabeth Maggie. The game is played with usually 2 to 4 players, and the objective is to bankrupt your opponents. This is done through purchasing and developing as many of the properties on the board as possible, through owning all the properties in each section. Once all the properties in a section are purchased, the owner can develop them by purchasing houses or hotels to place on them, subsequently increasing the rent amount opposing players must pay should they land on the space. Monopoly is known to mostly be won on luck, or the die roll, as many times players will miss the most desirable properties several times before even having the opportunity to purchase them. Not to mention the chance and community chance cards, which could hold great rewards able to make or destroy. Number 1. Chess. Chess is the granddaddy of them all. Chess has occupied the number 1 spot for some time, and well, it deserves it, due to its centuries-long lifespan and the universality of how it is played. Chess was invented sometime during the 6th century and is played all around the world. The main objective of the game is to put the opposing king in checkmate. This is accomplished by making it so the enemy king cannot be moved without putting it in danger by a separate piece, and another piece from the opposing player cannot be moved in to protect the king. Chess is so popular that there are professional tournaments all over the world. Chess is such an impressive game that when IBM was showing off their supercomputer, Deep Blue, they really put it to the test against the world-renowned chess player, Garry Kasparov. Chess is based purely on strategy and has a hardcore following around the globe. If you liked our video, be sure to click like and subscribe for more HowExpert Top 10 videos for all topics from A to Z in the future. Also, let us know what other topics you want us to do a HowExpert Top 10 video in the future in the comments below. Thank you, have an amazing day, and take care. HowExpert publishes quick how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit HowExpert.com to learn more.